So hi there students, welcome back to another video lesson. So after nating i-introduce yung mga terms related to circles, so our next video lesson has something to do with theorems on chords, arcs, central angles, and inscribed angles. So na-discuss ko na po yung mga definition ng mga parts of circles na yan, and then kung paano sila ini-illustrate. So ngayon naman, pag-aaralan natin kung ano ba yung mga theorems under this parts of circles. So, let's start. So, for our lesson objectives, we will illustrate congruent circles and congruent arcs. And then we will define and illustrate theorems on chords, arcs, central angles, and inscribed angles. So let's have congruent circles. So circles with congruent radii are said to be congruent. So masasabi po natin na yung dalawang circles ay congruent kapag yung sukat ng dalawang radius ay congruent. Okay? Like for example, line segment RA is a radius of circle R. So yung first figure natin na circle, ayan. So circle R and then yung radius natin is AR or RA. So, either of the two, okay lang din naman yan. And then, yung second circle natin is circle C. And then, CS or line segment CS is a radius of circle C. Okay. So, pwede natin silang sabihin or i-conclude na congruent sila if line segment RA is congruent to line segment CS. So, yung radius na yan, yung RA at CS, dapat congruent sila. And then, kapag napatunayan natin yon, we can conclude that circle R is congruent to circle C. Okay? So, yan lang po yung congruent circles. So, after natin i-discuss yung congruent circles, let's have congruent arcs. So arcs of the same circle or congruent circles which have equal measures are said to be congruent. So meron tayo dyang same circle. So maaari po kasing dalawang arcs ang meron sa loob ng circle. And then pwede rin namang congruent circles. So dalawang circles yung naka-illustrate. So like for example, so, in circle R, so yung first figure natin, in circle R, arc PQ, so ito po yung arc PQ, ayan, and then, arc ST, ito naman siya, are congruent. So, kitang-kita naman po, may numerical measure po sila, 57 degrees. Kaya po, congruent sila. And then, kung ano yung sukat ng central angle, so, yun din po ang sukat ng intercepted arc, which is, ayan, PQ tsaka ST. And then, congruent circles naman, so if circle R is congruent to circle X, so yung kabilang circle, and then, arc ST is congruent to YZ. So, ST is congruent to YZ. As you can see, ayan, the measure of arc YZ is also 57 degrees. And then, since yung dalawang arc dun sa unang figure natin ay congruent, we can also conclude that arc PQ is congruent to arc YZ. So, yan lang po yung congruent arcs. So, let's have the first part of our theorems. So, yung una nating part has something to do with theorems on central angles, arcs, and chords. So, yan po yung unang part. Yung next part po natin mamaya, makikita nyo. So, yung una nating theorem, central angles and arcs. So, yung theorem na ito, in a circle or of congruent circles, if the corresponding central angles are congruent, then we can say that the two minor arcs are also congruent. So, para mas maintindihan nyo yung theorem na yan, so let us consider the example below. So, if the measure of the two central angles, ayan, angle DAM and angle AE. So, yung angle DAM. So, ito siya. Angle DAM. And then, yung angle RAE. So, ayan. Are congruent. Then, the intercepted minor arcs DM and RE are also congruent. So, bakit sila naging congruent? So, it's because yung dalawang central angle parehong 48 degrees. Kung ano ang sukat ng central angle, yun din na magiging sukat ng intercepted arc. So, moreover, if circle A is congruent to circle I, so dito naman, congruent circles, so circle A and circle I, and angle DAM is congruent to angle RAE, and then is congruent to angle BIG. Okay. So, tatlong central angles na yung congruent. So, as you can see, 48 degrees din po yung sukat ng angle BIG na central angle. And then arc DM is congruent to arc RE, and then congruent to arc BG. So, since napatunayan naman natin at yung tatlong central angles ay congruent as well as yung dalawang circle, so pwede natin i-conclude na yung tatlong intercepted minor arcs are all congruent. So, in the next theorem naman natin, arcs and chords naman. So, in a circle or of congruent circles, if the corresponding chords are congruent, then we can say that the two minor arcs are also congruent. So, ang ibig sabihin lang po niyan, so, yung dalawang chords ay equal or congruent, masasabi natin na yung dalawang minor arcs are also congruent. So, yung example natin below, so if the measures of two chords DM and RE are congruent, then the intercepted minor arcs DM and RE are also congruent. So, paano yon? So, yung chord natin na DM, ito siya. So, ito po yung chord. Ayan. So, yung endpoints niya, nasa dalawang bahagi or nakapaloob sa circle. So, unlike yung diameter, nagpa-pass through siya dun sa center ng circle. So, yung DM na yan, ito, yung naka-red na yan, chords po yan. And then, yung mga arcs naman na tinutukoy niya, yung minor arcs, ito yun. So, arc, DM. Then, yung pangalawa, arc, RE. Okay, so kahit na pareho sila ng pangalan, magkaiba po yan. So, yung isa, chord, yung isa, minor arc. Okay? So, lagyan lang natin ng symbol for minor arcs, for arcs. Ayan. And then, punta tayo dun sa congruent circles. So, if the two circles are congruent, circle A, and then circle I, and then, DM is congruent to RE, is congruent to BG, then, arc DM is congruent to RE, is congruent to BG. So, since yung dalawang circle ay congruent, and then, yung tatlong chords, DM, RE, tsaka BG, ay congruent, pwede nating sabihin na yung mga minor arcs ay congruent din. Okay, so make sure ma-prove muna natin na yung dalawang circle ay congruent. Tsaka yung chords bago nating sabihin na yung tatlong minor arcs are congruent. So, I hope it's clear. So, next naman, arcs, chord, and diameter. So, in a circle, if a diameter is perpendicular to the chord, then it bisects the chord and its corresponding arc. So, tingnan natin yung figure natin dito. So, yung diameter natin, which is Fi, so ayan, na kailangan nagpa-pass through siya sa center ng circle para maging diameter siya. And then, is perpendicular to the chord. So, pag sinabi nating perpendicular, dapat nagke-create po siya ng 90-degree angle, yung right angle. So, yung chord na tinutukoy natin dyan is yung chord LY. So, ayan. So, nakadrawing tong LY na to. And then, idodrawing yung diameter FI, mahahati sa gitna. And then, yung chord na yon is mahati sa dalawa. And then, hahatiin niya din yung corresponding arc. So, yung chord natin na LY, mahati siya sa gitna. And then, yung hinati na yon, lalagyan natin ng point sa gitna, yung point M, ayan. And then, if FI is perpendicular to LY, so FI, so yung diameter natin, and then LY is yung chord, are perpendicular to each other, then LM is congruent to MY. So, yung chord na yon nahati siya sa dalawa, kaya yung LM congruent siya sa MY. So, halimbawa, yung LM 10 meters. And then, yung MY 10 meters din. So, anong kabuang sukat nung chord na yon? Siyempre, add lang natin yung 10 tsaka 10. So, that is 20 meters. So, since hinati nga siya, binisect siya nung diameter, so, mahati po yung 20 sa dalawa, kaya naging 10 meters each. Okay? And then, LI or arc LI is congruent to arc IY. So, since nahati yung chord, nahati din po yung arc. So, like for example, itong arc na to, ayan. Arc LY or arc LIY. So, yan. So, for example, ang measure ng arc LY ay halimbawa 80 degrees. So, since nahati siya ng diameter, binisect nga siya. So, ang magiging sukat nung LI tsaka IY ay parehong 40 degrees. So, paano nakuha yung 40 degrees? So, i-divide lang natin yung 80 sa 2. So, 40 degrees dito sa portion na to. 40 degrees din sa kabilang portion. So, yan lang po yung theorem on arcs, chord, and diameter. Consider the figure below. So, solving naman po tayo. So, in circle A, AE is equal to 3 units, ET is equal to 2 square root of 10 units, and NI is equal to 2 units. Find the measure of TA, ES, IA, and ID. So, i-label lang natin yung mga given measure. So, AE, ito po yung AE. This is 3 units. And then ET or TE is equal to 2 square root of 10 units. And then, yung NI natin is 2 units. So, yung NI, this is 2 units. So, find the measure of TA, ES, IA, and ID. So, yung una nating kukunin is TA. So, for us to be able to determine the measure of TA, so gagamit po tayo dito ng Pythagorean theorem. So, yung Pythagorean theorem, that is A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. That is, the sum of the square of the two legs is equal to the square of the hypotenuse. So, bakit ko nasabi yung Pythagorean theorem? It's because, kung papansinin po natin, nagpo-form po kasi yung AE, ET, tsaka yung TA or AT ng right triangle. So, para ma-solve natin yung sukat nito ng TA, yung nag-act as hypotenuse, kailangan nating i-apply yung Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so, i-label lang natin yung A dito is yung magiging AE. And then, yung B naman natin, yung ET. And then, yung hinahanap nating sukat is TA. Tsaka natin i-substitute yung mga given measure. So, for AE, meron tayo dito 3 units. Ayan. And then, yung ET naman, 2 square root of 10 units, quantity squared. And then, yung hinahanap natin na sukat, which is TA. Ayan. And then, ang gagawin lang natin, i-square natin yung 3 units, tsaka yung 2 square root of 10 units. So, 3 times 3, that is 9. So, this is 9 square units. And then, 2 square root of 10. So, gagawin lang natin 2 square root of 10 times 2 square root of 10. So, ang mangyayari, yung 2, multiply sa 2, magiging 4. And then, yung square root of 10, i-multiply sa square root of 10, matatanggal yung square root. And that is square root of 100. And square root of 100 is 10. And then, yung nakuha natin 4 kanina, pag multiply lang natin, and then that is equal to 40 square units. And then, is equal to TA squared. And then, i-add lang natin. So, sulat lang natin dito. TA is equal to the sum. So, that is 49 square units. So, yung 49 na yan, i-extract natin yung square root para matanggal yung mga squared na yan. So, since 49 is a perfect square, so, ayan, square both sides, magiging TA is equal to the square root of 49 is 7. So, ibig sabihin lang po niyan, the measure of TA or the radius is 7 units. Ayan. So, since yung ating radius dito is 7 units, ayan, label natin 7 units. So, may mga iba't iba pang radius na makikita dito sa figure natin. So, kagaya lang ng DA. So, yung DA radius din po yan. So, this is also 7 units. And then, yung AS, ayan, 7 units din. And then, finally, yung NA, 7 units din po yan. So, yung apat na yan, radius po sila ng circle A. Now, paano natin kukunin yung sukat ng ES? Okay, so, madali lang po yan. So, since yung AS natin, radius siya, which measures 7 units, and then, yung AE, ang sukat niya given then, which is 3 units. So, ang gagawin lang natin, isusubtract lang natin yung sukat ng AE sa sukat ng AS para makukuha natin yung sukat ng ES. So, paano yon? So, ES is equal to AS minus AE. So, the measure of AS is 7 units. The measure of AE is 3 units. So, 7 units minus 3 units, that is 4 units. So, ibig sabihin po, yung sukat po ng ES is 4 units. What about IA? Okay. So, to find the measure of IA, just simply subtract the measure of NI to the measure of NA. So, yung NA po kasi dyan is also the radius of a circle, of the circle A. So, mangyayari NA minus NI. So, yung NI po dyan is 2 units. And then, yung NA is 7 units. So, 7 units minus 3 units, 2 units. Ayan. So, that is equivalent to 5 units. So, ibig sabihin po, ang sukat ng IA is 5 units. And then, yung pinaka-last naman natin is ID. Okay. So, yung measure ng ID. So, since yung sukat ng IA is 5 units, and then yung DA natin, radius siya, which is 7 units, gamit lang din ulit tayo ng Pythagorean theorem para makuha natin yung sukat ng ID or DI. So, mangyayari nito, sulat natin, DA is equal to 7 units. IA is equal to 5 units. So, to form the equation, DI or DA squared is equal to IA squared plus ID squared. So, yung DA po dyan is ang magsisilbing hypotenuse. Okay, so the longest side of the right triangle. So, DA, 7 units squared is equal to the measure of IA, that is 5 units squared plus ID or quantity ID squared. And then 7 times 7, that is 49 square units. And then equals 5 units times 5 units, that is 25 square units. Plus the quantity ID squared. And then ang gagawin natin, itong 25 units, ililipat natin sa left side. So magiging 49 units, square units, minus 25 square units equals the quantity ID squared. And then, sulat lang natin, baligtarin natin. So, 49 units minus 25 square units, that is 24 square units. So, para matanggal yung squared, subtract natin yung square root, both sides. So, magiging ID is equal to square root of 24 square units. So, yung square root of 24, so meron siyang factor na perfect square, which is 4. Kasi 0.24, hindi naman siya perfect square. So, yung 4. And then, yung isang factor niya is 6. So, ibig sabihin, square root of 4 is 2. And then, since yung 6, hindi naman po siya pwedeng extract dahil hindi siya perfect square, may iwan po siya sa loob. So, ibig sabihin, the measure of ID is 2 square root of 6 units. And then, yung last postulate natin for this part, so let's have arc addition postulate. So, arc addition postulate states that the arc formed by two adjacent arcs is the sum of the measure of two arcs. So, yung two adjacent arcs na sinasabi dito is yung dalawang arcs na magkatabi, magkasunod. So, para makuha yung sukat ng buong arc na yon, so i-add lang natin yung sukat ng two adjacent or adjacent arcs na yon. So, let's consider the figure below. So, adjacent arcs are arcs which has exactly one point in common. So, like for example, yung adjacent arcs po natin dito, JN and then HN. So, yung common point po nila is point N. Okay, so yung circle O natin, ayan. So, if you add the measure of the two arcs, then the sum is equal to the measure of J and H. So, kapag in-add natin ang sukat ng JN, tsaka sukat ng HN, so, makukuha po natin yung sukat ng J and H. So, yung kabuuan. Ayan. So, in short, the measure of arc J and H is equal to the sum of the measure of arc JN and the measure of arc HN. For example, so if arc JN is 40 degrees, so ito, 40 degrees, and then yung HN natin is 85 degrees, sulat lang natin dito. So, ayan, para makuha natin yung sukat ng arc J and H, i-add lang natin yung 40 tsaka 85 degrees, which will give us 125 degrees na sukat ng arc JNH. So, yan lang po yung arc addition postulate. So, let's have the next part, theorems on inscribed angles. So, inscribed angles and intercepted arcs. So, i-review lang natin. An inscribed angle is an angle formed whose vertex is on the circle and whose sides contains the chords of the circle. So, unlike yung central angle, yung vertex niya is nasa center. So, yung inscribed po yung kanyang vertex is on the circle. So, nakapalibot po sa circle. And then, we also have intercepted arc. So, an intercepted arc lies in the inner portion of an inscribed angle and whose endpoints is on the angle. Okay? So, meron tayo ditong tatlong illustrations ng inscribed angle kasama na yung intercepted arc. So, yung una natin, in figure 1, angle B, so ito po yung angle B, or angle ABC. So, by the way, we can name an angle using the vertex or using the three letters. Okay? Is an inscribed angle and its intercepted arc is AC. So, yung intercepted arc niya, ito po, arc AC. The center of the circle is in the interior of the inscribed angle. So, yung unang figure natin, yung inscribed angle, nakapaloob po yung ating center. So, yung center, ayan po. Yung nasa gitna. Okay. So, yan po yung figure 1. And then, figure 2 naman, angle E, or angle DEF, ayan, angle DEF. So, is an inscribed angle and its intercepted arc is arc DF. Ayan naman yung nasa ibaba. One side of the inscribed angle, angle DEF, is the diameter of the circle. So, yung isang side ng inscribed angle DF natin is the diameter of the circle. So, yung diameter, ayan, line segment DE. So, isang side po ng ating inscribed angle ay diameter ng circle, which is line segment DE. Next, in figure 3, angle H or angle GHI is an inscribed angle and its intercepted arc is arc GI. So, yung inscribed angle natin dito is angle H or angle GHI. Ayan. And then, yung intercepted arc natin, ayan, yung arc GI. So, the center of the circle is in the exterior of the inscribed angle. So, kabaligtaran po ng figure 1. So, yung center natin, nasa labas ng inscribed angle. Okay, so, opposite po ng figure 1 yung figure 3. So, let's have the first theorem, inscribed angle theorem. In a circle, if an angle is inscribed in it, then half the measure of the intercepted arc is the measure of the inscribed angle, or twice the measure of the inscribed angle is equal to the measure of the intercepted arc. So, para mas maintindihan nyo yung inscribed angle theorem, so let's have example. Consider the figure at the right. So, in circle M, ayan, ito po yung circle M, angle JKL, ayan, is an inscribed angle. Tapos, yung intercepted arc niya is JL. Ayan, arc JL. And then, in short, the measure of angle JKL is equal to 1/2 the measure of JL. So, yung sukat po ng ating intercepted arc, hatiin lang po natin, makukuha natin yung sukat ng inscribed angle. For example, if the measure of arc JL is 64 degrees, so ito po, 64 degrees. Itong arc na to, arc JL. So, para makuha natin yung sukat ng inscribed angle, hatiin lang natin yung 64 sa dalawa. And that is 32 degrees. And then, ayan, like for example, sulat natin 32 degrees. So, kapag given naman po yung measure ng inscribed angle at hinahanap ang sukat ng intercepted arc, so, ang gagawin lang natin is imumultiply lang natin yung 32 sa 2. So, ang sagot natin doon is, babalik tayo sa 64. So, yun lang po yung inscribed angle theorem. Next, congruent inscribed angles. So, meron din po tayong inscribed angles na congruent. So, paano yun? In a circle, the inscribed angles subtended by the same arc are congruent. So, let's have the given illustration. in circle Q, ayan, ito po yung circle Q, OPR, angle OPR, ito yon, OPR and OSR are inscribed angles. So, OPR and OSR are inscribed angles. And then, if the two angles both intercept arc OR, so, ini-intercept nilang pareho kasi itong arc OR. Ayan, same sila ng endpoints. So, dahil same sila ng endpoints, yung dalawang inscribed angles na yan ay congruent. So, like for example, if the measure of arc OR, so yung nasa taas, is equal to 128 degrees. Then, angle OPR and angle OSR have equal measure of 64. So, paano na naman naging 64 yan? So, applying inscribed angle theorem. So, yung sukat ng intercepted arc, hatiin lang natin, makukuha natin yung sukat ng inscribed angle. So, ayan. So, ibig sabihin po, itong mga dinrawing ko na yan, ang sukat pong pareho ay 64 degrees. So, next, inscribed angle in a semicircle. So, in a circle, if an angle is inscribed in it, intercept a semicircle, then the angle formed is a right angle. So, yung semicircle po na sinasabi po natin dyan is yung kalahati ng circle. Okay. So, which measures exactly 180 degrees. So, let's have the given example. So, in circle X, ito siya, angle TUB is an inscribed angle. So, ayan, angle TUB, ayan, pakita natin, is an inscribed angle which intercepts the semicircle arc TWV. So, ayan, ini-intercept niya yung TWB. So, ini-intercept niya is because ito yung mga endpoints. Ayan. Saktong-sakto dun sa hati ng circle. Therefore, angle TUB is a right angle. So, ayan. I-intercept niya yung semicircle, kaya yung sukat ng inscribed angle is 90 degrees. Yung measure ng right angle. So, ang sukat po kasi ng semicircle is 180 degrees. Hatiin natin yon. Yun po ang magiging sukat ng inscribed angle, which is 90 degrees. Na, sabi ko nga, sukat ng right angle. So, yung last natin, cyclic quadrilateral in a circle. Cyclic quadrilateral is the term which refers to an inscribed quadrilateral in a circle. The opposite angles of a cyclic quadrilateral are supplementary. Supplementary angles are pairs of angles whose sum is 180 degrees. So, ayan. So, yung cyclic quadrilateral, so cyclic, maari siyang umikot dyan sa loob ng circle. And then, yung opposite angles nung cyclic quadrilateral na yun ay supplementary. So, let's have example para maintindihan yung supplementary angle na yan. So, in circle R, BAKE is a cyclic quadrilateral. Ayan, BAKE is a cyclic quadrilateral. So, if angle BEK and BAK are supplementary angles, then the measure of BEK plus the measure of BAK is equal to 180 degrees. So, sabi nga dun sa definition, the opposite angles of a cyclic quadrilateral are supplementary. So, nasa ng BEK? Ito po ang BEK. And then, nasa naman ang BAK? So, yung opposite niya, ayan. Opposite angle sila. So, pag pinag-add po natin yung sukat ng dalawang opposite angles na yan, ang sukat po is 180 degrees. Ibig sabihin, ang sukat, ang BEK tsaka BAK ay supplementary angles. And then, likewise, pwede nating sabihin, angle EBA, ito naman, yung kabila, tsaka angle EKA. Ayan, kabaligtaran niya. Supplementary angles din sila and opposite angles sila. Pag pinag-add natin yung sukat, 180 degrees din. And then, kapag pinag-add natin yung sukat ng dalawang supplementary angles na yan, ang sagot po natin is yung kabuuan ng circle, which is 360 degrees. So, yan lang po yung cyclic quadrilateral in a circle. So, our next video lesson will be illustrate sectors and segments of a circle. So, another part na naman po ng circle ang ating i-discuss. Yung sectors and segments of a circle. So, yun lang. Maraming salamat.